First of all, congratulations on the extent of your service, which is wrapping up. I know it's taken a lot out of you in the sense that it's a commitment and it is a public service. And it's not just about you, it's also about your family. So I think people who have positions like yourself, their family also is along for the journey as well.
Thank you, Araksya. Thank you for this interview.
What does it feel like now looking back? Is there a way to say one point of your life stands out more than others?
The most exciting part of my career when I take a look back, is the independence of Armenia, which was a milestone in our lives in 1991. And afterwards, I was teaching at the Yerevan State University, being a professor of history of diplomacy, assistant professor. And when Armenia became independent, I joined Armenian newly formed diplomatic service, which is a very special feeling and also a sense of responsibility because everything we were starting from scratch. And I was happy to be at the roots of the Armenian Foreign Ministry. And afterwards, I had very many assignments, but the most important that I want to present to you was the United Nations. When in 1992, March 2nd, Armenia became full-fledged member of the United Nations. At that time, in January 1993, I got the position of Deputy Permanent Representative to the UN in New York. And that means that in one place in New York at the UN headquarters, you deal with the entire world representing independent Armenia. This is something completely different compared to other diplomatic assignments.
You've lived in many places around the world. Where do you have the fondest memories? And no pressure, you don't have to say Los Angeles.
I love many countries and cities, but my favorite after Yerevan is Los Angeles, definitely. Second, I would mention Boston, because Boston is a very special city for me. We lived there for a while, and Massachusetts used to be a home for us. But there are also several countries that we enjoyed visiting, living, and one of them is New Delhi in India, another is Sydney, Australia. Because of my frequent travels and diplomatic missions in Europe, Brussels and Vienna are very close to my heart. And there are other cities as well. But I can tell that Los Angeles absolutely prevails. And the reason for this is very simple, because it's not only my opinion, but my family's opinion.
What's it been like to take your family all around the world? It puts a lot of pressure on the entire family. It's exciting, of course, and you get to experience things most people don't, but it takes a bit of a toll.
Absolutely. And I recall when I was appointed the first ambassador of Armenia in India, my younger son, David, he was 3 months old. Yes, 3 months old. And so we took him over there. And afterwards, I was concurrently accredited to several countries, including Indonesia, with frequent missions in Singapore. And my son, David, was 6 months old when with Yvette, we took him because my wife was supposed to be at the presentation of credentials at this ceremony when ambassador is accredited, so presents credentials. She was supposed to be, and that's regulated by the protocol. So we were taking with Yvette, our son David, to different travels, Singapore, and then Jakarta, Canberra. So it was when he grew up, I was telling him, you were in this place, in the other place. He was, I don't remember. I'm not supposed to remember. You were 6 months old.
Oh my goodness, right. You're like, you've been to more places as a child than most people will in a lifetime. So for those who aren't familiar with the time you've spent here in Los Angeles, yeah, tell us a little bit about the years you served and what you accomplished during that time.
First, let me start with a point that it happens pretty rarely when same diplomat is appointed twice in the same position. In my case, I was assigned as the first Consul General of Armenia in Los Angeles at the end of 1994, and I established the Consulate General in January 1995. So serving 2.5 years. After that, I went back to Armenia, becoming Deputy Foreign Minister in charge of relations with the United States and very many other countries. And for the second time, it happened in 2018, when I was, after 26 years, basically, if I counted it correctly. So I became, for the second time, Consul General in Los Angeles for Armenia. And there are few accomplishments that I would like to highlight. And California is important. Basically, the jurisdiction covers the entire Western United States, not just California, 14 Western states. But California is very special, naturally, because of the weight of the state, because of the importance, but also because of the Armenian community, because we have the largest Armenian community. By numbers, it's number 2 in the world after the community in Russia. But by being, but the state of being organized, by its activities, so it's absolutely number 1 in diaspora and also for the homeland. So because of that, it's a special responsibility to represent Armenia in California. So there are a couple of accomplishments that I want to single out to bring to your attention. First, I organized back in 1996, even I remember the date, June 2nd at Bonaventure Hotel, the first ever business conference that Armenia organized abroad, California, Armenia Investment and State Opportunities, Investment and Trade Opportunities. And the peculiarity of this conference is that it boosted investments from the United States, because it was supposed to be for California only, but business people from the entire United States came to attend it. So afterwards, more than 300 participants. After that, a lot of investments, a lot of business, new ventures, companies established in Armenia. Secondly, it was a strong step to bridge California and Armenia. Secondly, I would say during my second term in office, so in 2019, framework agreement on cooperation between Armenia and California was signed. This is really a milestone. We worked a lot on this agreement, and the Armenian community and the Armenian community organizations like ANCA, Western Region, and also Armenian Assembly supported a lot. We accomplished that. So California has only with several countries such an agreement as a state, and that's a great platform to enhance relations between California and Armenia, using all the instruments, the entire toolkit available for development of relations between two important entities. And there are very many other accomplishments that I would like to highlight, but again, I'll come to the point that we had difficult periods in our life, like 44-day war that happened in 2020, when the entire community mobilized its resources, mobilized itself to support homeland against aggression. And the Consulate General, I recall when the entire community leaders came together at the Consulate General to express their voice of support, but also their strong voice for peace. And I'm very happy to tell that not only authorities in California, I would say the entire spectrum, but also all the diverse communities in California joined us in our apply for peace. And I am very proud for that.
Would you say then the 2020 with the war was the most difficult, most challenging time for you?
Absolutely. It was the most challenging time. We had other challenges that, like COVID, when I would say the vast majority of the consulate general were closed and they couldn't operate in this condition. But proudly, I would say that we continue. There was not a single day that the Consul General of Armenia stopped its operation. But it is nothing to compare with the 44-day war when our Artsakh, our homeland, was under attack, and when I recall those days, every day has its story, not only for us, but for the entire community, Armenian community, that they were living with that. So they were being far away from the homeland. I always tell that the community always was with the homeland, and the distant geographical distance didn't play any role. And so the community did the utmost, really the utmost. And very many lives were saved. Very many people were cured or helped in medical terms because of this assistance. 2 cargo planes flew from Los Angeles to Armenia taking humanitarian assistance. And I'm not mentioning that in overall terms. So it was huge support for the homeland. And it helped, I can tell in this way, that even though it was purely humanitarian, the entire effort, but it helped people to get stronger spiritually in the homeland and withstand the aggression by Azerbaijan, so which played a very special role. And through this and through very many other means, I can tell that the bridge, if I can describe this as a bridge between the homeland, between Armenia and between California, became much more stronger. And people never felt that they are far away. They felt that being geographically in a remote place, but at the same time, they are physically with the people of Armenia.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Yeah. What did you feel overwhelmed during that time, in the sense of people coming to you and asking you perhaps to do things that are not within your power or authority? I think maybe if you could explain what your role is and what people think your role is and what people expect of you. I'm sure you've encountered this quite a bit in the time that you've served.
Thank you very much for this question. Even though very many people, they have a very clear understanding of the role of the diplomat, whose main function is to develop relations between his or her country, represented country, and the area of assignment or country or the region of assignment, and working on development of multilateral relations, entire spectrum of relations. But in my experience, there were very interesting points where, for example, I was asked to stop the aggression on the borders of Armenia. And I was explaining that I'm a diplomat representing Armenia in California and the Western United States. I don't have the power or instrument to stop the aggression. I can raise my voice, I can generate support, I can work with the California legislature, with the executive, to extend supportive hand, but I cannot stop. And very often people were telling, you are the Consul General, so you can do that. You can basically everything. I was explaining, no, on the contrary, I have a very clear mandate, and every diplomat has a very clear mandate. We have our jurisdiction, and this jurisdiction is pretty broad, and we can accomplish very many things, but naturally not everything. And very often talking to people, having TV interviews, interactions with our community, population at large, society at large, I always explain the functions of the Consul General, and very often I can tell that we work very openly in a transparent manner, presenting all our activities, and basically people know pretty well what we do, and every important function, even though we cannot shed a light on every function that we do, but the major events naturally that we present to the society at large.
Is there anything during this time that you wish you had done that you didn't complete or you didn't get to do?
I was planning to have an Armenian festival in Glendale. So we're expecting 25,000 people to attend it. And most importantly, the entire idea was to present Armenians as creative people. That's why we thought that we should have booths presenting like kind of an expo, presenting IT, high technology products like Robin the Robot, and very many other high-tech products, AI products that very many people, they don't know that, for example, USB, that everyone uses USB 3 and very many other, the latest generation of USBs, those were designed in Armenia. And we wanted to display that, and also to have a cultural festival presenting Armenian culture, inviting people, not only naturally Armenian community, but also other communities, all other communities from Los Angeles, along with the officials, but also to celebrate together through presenting the Armenian culture, the diversity of California, in particular Los Angeles. But regrettably, my dream that we already started to plan, we scheduled it, we prepared a lot of parts of that in organizational terms, but due to pandemic, we were not able, due to pandemic and due to post-war situation, we were not able to accomplish. So this is something that I regret that I was not able to do.
You spoke about Armenia, the Armenian community here in Los Angeles, and what a big community it is. Also, you have a lot of support from local and state leaders because of the large population here in Los Angeles and in California. Talk a little bit about that relationship that you have had with officials and elected leaders, and they've been very supportive in with Armenians throughout this difficult time.
First, when I assumed my responsibilities of the Consul General in this period, I mentioned in 2018, September 2018, my first efforts were to establish strong rapport with the entire community, because representing the state of Armenia, independent Armenia, meant that we have a very inclusive approach towards the community. The entire community became part of our daily efforts and vice versa. So that approach helped me a lot to establish strong relationship with the state authorities, state, county, city authorities, elected and appointed officials. Why? Because even though I work in classical terms as a diplomat, but at the same time enjoying the support of the community makes my work completely different. And I can proudly say today, summing up my 3.5 years of work as Consul General, I can tell that at all periods, junctions of my work, I enjoyed very strong support of the community. And that enabled me, I want to use that word, enabled me to establish very, very strong relationship with the authorities in California. And when we had the visit of the Prime Minister in 2019 in Los Angeles, and when we had a crowd of 20,000, unprecedented in terms of one meeting, even though Armenian community, for example, during the genocide, Armenian genocide march, there were for about 150,000 people. But I can tell that afterwards, when Mayor Eric Garcetti was summarizing the results of the year, he mentioned that, telling that they extended the courtesy on the highest possible level for the city of Los Angeles. I was very happy to hear that. The same relates to very many other events that we were organizing or we were engaged in. We were receiving the top treatment from all levels of authorities in California.
I was thinking about just all the places you've been, and how when you go somewhere, you acclimate yourself with the culture and the people, and you pick up some, I don't know, traditions perhaps, or you see the world in a different way based on other people's perspective. And it's a beautiful thing because you're able to appreciate different people for what they are and even incorporate some of the good things that you learn from people into your own life. Have you done that? Is there anything specific that comes to mind, or if you could just in general even speak to that?
Yes, and that's the most fascinating part of my job as diplomat, of any diplomat. So when we lived in very many countries, and the interesting part of my work was that always I was taking my family with me. So, and luckily I didn't have non-family duty station, or I preferred not to have, as diplomats also encounter in their work. So everywhere I took my family with me, and every time we were in different environments. And that's the beauty of my job. So different cultures, different people. And there is one secret or a key to success for a diplomat. In my experience, I saw that how diplomats are succeeding, how diplomats are failing sometimes. So it comes not only from their diplomatic experience and their diplomatic knowledge, expertise, but very often it comes how you are inclined towards the local milieu. So if you love the culture, if you understand the culture, local culture, and you express your understanding and love, so then you have a very smooth path. But I saw in my experience that people were coming to this or that country and they were not happy with the culture. They disliked that and they couldn't work for a long time. And so when they worked, it was a nightmare for both their countries and also for the receiving country. But we were happy wherever we went. So we loved the cultures. So I was, for example, in India, and I love this country. I have very strong bonds with India. But also I got my second PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University, their top university, and I got my PhD in international relations. That helped me, along with my work, helped me to understand in depth the country, the people, the culture, philosophy, and that helped a lot. So the same was my initial assignments in the United States, in European countries, in Japan, in China, in Australia, and I was the chief negotiator with the European Union. So there were there was a period that half of the month I was spending in Brussels and another half in Yerevan, shuttling between Yerevan and Brussels. So I truly fell in love with the Belgian culture, with European culture, with Dutch culture, with German, with Austrian, with British, so Irish. So it's so amazing that you work with different people, you work different cultures, and sometimes it's so interesting. There are some diplomats coming from this or that country. From the very first meeting, somehow it clicks. So immediately you feel, and very often it's not professional. Very often it's your background in terms of your origin, your ethnicity. That also, I felt that it plays role. For example, I cannot give a very proper explanation, but for example, when we meet with Norwegian diplomats, because there was some history with Norway, between Armenia and Norway, Treaty of Nansen, great humanitarian and others, French diplomats. So immediately, like we know each other for a long time, immediately the chemistry works, and it's fascinating. And I would say, for me also with US diplomats, always was the same. And diplomats from many other countries. But the first and the last point that I would like to make in this context is that the most important thing is trust. If you're able to gain the trust of your counterpart and vice versa, then you have a green light for your work and for
Makes
your
sense.
country.
Before we go into just a little bit of your personal life, whatever you're willing to share, I would just lastly like to ask you what Los Angeles means to you, or what you think of when you think of Los Angeles.
If you ask the same question in Armenia, immediately the answer will be the Armenian community and the sunny Los Angeles. For me, Los Angeles naturally is much more. Los Angeles, it has its own culture. It has its own culture. For example, another favorite city of mine is New York, which I has not mentioned. One of the greatest Armenian writers, Arksya Karapetyan, was writing that New York even has its own smell, its own vibe. So every city, Los Angeles has its own culture, which is not comparable with any culture in the United States and in the world. Los Angeles is not only about climate. Its climate plays a role, of course, that plays a role in terms of attracting so many people coming to Los Angeles. But also, Los Angeles became a city when, in a very integral way, all the different ethnicities merged, becoming Angelinos. And the greatest part of that Armenian community became, again, an integral part of that large society in Los Angeles. So it's really amazing. But culture life of Los Angeles is very rich. This is what I want to highlight. Is very, very rich. And so then I can mention people. People are very nice, and sometime again. So I was years back, I was following a radio channel. Then the question was, who are the nicest people in what city? And so this, if I try to think in those terms, I can tell that people in Los Angeles are the nicest compared among probably top several cities in the United States. Being not nice, kind, and it's not accidental that Los Angeles is known for its creativity in terms of developing technologies. It comes from the same qualities that I'm talking about. Being nice, being multicultural, also boosts creativity. Those are all interlinked.
So what's next for you? What happens now?
So I decided to take a 1 year diplomatic sabbatical. So I'm going to be in Los Angeles because Los Angeles became a home for us in the latest period, even before my assignment. We moved from New York in 2017 to Los Angeles, and my family wanted. I was professor of practice of international relations at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. We were in Massachusetts. Then we moved to New York, and then my family wanted Los Angeles. We're here since 2017, when in 2018 I got this position. So I'll have diplomatic sabbatical and continuing teaching and continuing doing some interesting projects, mostly focusing on education, because I believe that advancing education in Armenia is a key to Armenia's development and advancement. But also I am interested in doing some business projects, which can be another interesting part for a while when I am on diplomatic sabbatical. But and afterwards, most probably the question is the term, but I will return to diplomatic service.
Mhm. So you could possibly go elsewhere to a different country in a year and
Absolutely. I'm going to be now off active duty, but then I will return to active duty, and then we'll decide where and what are the opportunities, what I can be offered.
so no retirement, not yet.
No retirement, absolutely. No time
Okay.
for retirement.
Okay.
So,
When you say teaching, pursue teaching, what do you mean by that? Teaching at a specific university or location?
as I mentioned, I used to teach at the University of Massachusetts
Yes.
Amherst, UMass Amherst. And when we moved to California, even I continued teaching online before COVID. And so I had several classes teaching online, and I enjoyed that. Students.
What do you teach? What do you teach?
I teach several courses in international relations and political science. I will mention a couple of them. The most popular course is nationalism, ethnicity, and identity politics. This is one course. Another course is peace and security, from preventive diplomacy to humanitarian intervention. Another course is, which I love, and students also love that, it's diplomacy and international negotiation.
Wow.
And this course, and my courses have, all of them have very practical nature. It's not just theory. I teach my students how in practice things can happen, things can be accomplished.
So you were doing remote learning before it was a trend.
Absolutely.
You were an expert in it. Yeah. What do you have, like a life mantra or something that you live by?
My mantra is, I'm thinking it's a great question.
We can come back to it.
Yes, but I would say that interacting with people, inspiring them and being inspired by them, that's important for me.
Okay.
Just came to my mind. Never I thought about that.
It's an organic answer. Did you always want to do what you ended up doing in life? Going back to when you were deciding what it is you wanted to do with your life?
It's a wonderful question. So when I was studying at Yerevan State University, and after that was teaching at Yerevan State, so I always dreamt about the work of diplomat. But as far as it was the Soviet Union, at that time, Armenia still was part of the Soviet Union, I decided that I will not become diplomat for Soviet. And so preferred to teach history of diplomacy at Yerevan State rather than becoming a diplomat. But when Armenia became independent, so in a very interesting way, I was invited to work for initially for the parliament, National Assembly of Armenia, but again, dealing with external relations, covering
Mhm.
external relations, and later on for Armenia's foreign ministry. So I can tell that my dream came true, but my dream had its variations. It was also linked to teaching at university, and
Mhm.
also I'm a scholar
Yeah.
simultaneously.
Yes.
And I was able to combine those two in my life. In Yerevan, in wherever I was assigned, I was combining diplomatic work with teaching.
Mhm.
And I enjoyed that very much.
You were meant to be doing what you're doing. A little bit about your family. Do you have two children, a son and a daughter?
I have three children, two
Three
daughters
children.
and a son. And my wife, Yvette, so she was a teacher of Russian language in Armenia. But when we lived in Massachusetts, she decided to study floral design. She went one of the best schools in Boston, Rittner School of Floral Design, and she's designer's mom. And she became floral designer. And the happiest part of that story is that every day we had flowers in our house, and even so many flowers that we're sharing with neighbors when she was studying at
That's
Rittner
nice.
School. And my three children, my elder Ani, she studied. All of them are with us here in Los Angeles. She studied international relations in Armenia, and my father was her professor, and my father also. I come from the family of diplomats. He was Armenia's first ambassador to Iran, and so he's professor of Middle Eastern Iranian studies. So he became the first ambassador, and later on at the university, he was teaching to my daughter Ani.
Oh, that's so special. I love
Ani,
that. That's
thank
great.
you. Ani studied also in Canada, in Kamloops, British Columbia, and presently she's completing her master's program at the University of Laverne in health management.
Mm.
My younger daughter, Tagui, she's fashion designer. She studied in Armenia and then continued her studies in Florence, in Italy, with her bachelor's
Nice.
and master's degrees. She graduated from one of the best schools of fashion, Polimoda in Florence. She worked for Gucci's in Italy for a while, and then she enjoyed very much, but the family was not happy that she's away in Italy and we were in Armenia. And she moved closer to Yerevan in Dubai, working for another prominent company, Rosy Blue, and showing her strength in jewelry design. She got one of the top prizes at the jewelry fashion
Oh, that's great.
in Dubai. And she also worked for a while for Jonathan Simkai, great fashion designer in New York. And she also taught a course at Woodbury University here. So she's
Wow.
trying a course in fashion design. She's trying to find her exact niche in fashion, having talents in very many aspects, not just specifically fashion of women clothing. And my younger son David, he's he's at California State University Northridge, CSUN. She's studying business administration over there, supply chain management, and working simultaneously. So David, his I would say one foot is in Yerevan, another foot is in Los Angeles.
So no grandchildren yet, huh?
No, regrettably, no,
Not yet. There's still time. There's still time. So being a scholar, you enjoy reading. What's your favorite book Do you have a favorite or author?
Great question, and I will give you immediate answer. My favorite author is Isaac Asimov, even though he's a science fiction writer, but I still enjoy reading Isaac Asimov. And recently, I was reading a book about Jeff Bezos, Amazon Unbound. And Jeff Bezos also is a fan of science fiction. But the difference that I read in the book is that whatever in science fiction, and we have the same favorite authors, but he tries to implement in Amazon everything that he reads in science fiction.
It's working for him.
Yeah, and for me, it's a food of thought, but mostly for enjoyment.
Right, right. Do you watch many films? Do you have a favorite film or a genre?
Yes, I watch very films. I enjoy that, and my favorite film is Braveheart, Mel Gibson's, but also very many Armenian films. Among Armenian films, I will mention Pepo and very many other films.
If there was one, you've accomplished a lot, but if there's something that you wish you had done, I mean, I'm thinking like you wish you had learned how to play a musical instrument, or you wish you had dabbled in painting or a sport perhaps. Is there something that you wish you could have done or taken time to learn?
Fantastic question. And I wish I could do more for Armenia, because, and that all my life, basically, I serve independent Armenia. And for me, Armenia is everything for me and my family. But I wish, in addition to being a diplomat, I could do more for Armenia to improve my country.
That is a very nice answer. Very nice answer. They have not chosen yet your replacement, from my understanding, right? It takes a while.
That's correct.
Okay. So how will you, in addition to spending your time teaching and doing some other ventures, is there anything you look forward to doing on a personal level? Do you have a trip planned with your family? We're finally getting out of this COVID situation. Is there anything you want to do for yourself?
Yes. So with Yvette, we travel a lot, but mostly this travel is business travel. And very many events that I attend, I always want Yvette be with me. So we go together. And vacation for me very often means spending in Armenia. But spending vacation in Armenia, it's a very weird notion, because when I am in Armenia, I'm not able to be on vacation. And now we can travel, we can have real vacation here in California. One of my dreams is to be in Alaska, to be in New Orleans, and very many places. I have my bucket list in Sweden. So we plan to travel.
You should do the Alaskan cruise. I hear it's very nice.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yes, go and check that out. You haven't been to New Orleans?
No, it's on my
Oh,
bucket list.
well, if you love good food and music, that's a great place to visit, although you will gain weight immediately.
Yeah.
Speaking of eating, do you have a favorite, give me a favorite Armenian dish and your favorite American dish, if you have one.
Sure. My favorite Armenian dish is kufta, and there is a way of in Kavar, which is Sevan region, of doing the kufta, like a huge role. So I really love that. So it's absolutely amazing. And when I was in Yerevan, my mom prepared kufta the first day I arrived, just in December in Yerevan. So I love that. And the favorite American is a very good steak, because the steaks that are made in America, you cannot find anywhere in the world. And not only in Texas, but in the US.
Oh, okay. Okay. What's your message to the younger generation, or even someone who is considering choosing a path like yourself? Is there something you wish someone had given you that advice prior to you entering into this field?
Very many of my students at UMass Amherst, they became diplomats, working for the US Department of State, working for the US mission, or becoming international civil servants at the United Nations, being US nationals. So, and they tell, it's not my opinion, but they share with me that I inspired them to become diplomats. And also I was always trying to not only show the diplomacy from all its sides, including the inside view and the beauty of diplomacy, but also encouraging them to become diplomats. And it works. The same I can tell in Armenia and for Armenians, because very many people, when I was teaching at Yerevan State University, they were inspired, became diplomats. And today I can proudly tell that very many diplomats working at the Armenian Foreign Ministry, I trained them personally. And maybe it can sound a little bit too strong, but those that I trained are the best.
That's good. It's good. You know the quality of your work. If you could, I guess, sum up what strength you've had that's led you to your success. You mentioned the importance of trust. You mentioned the importance of appreciating the environment you're in and seeing the good, obviously, so you can flourish and succeed and blend with the people. Is there anything else?
One thing that I would mention, that a couple of things I would say. First, for any diplomatic matters, for me, it always was of special importance. Whatever I did, I was doing, and I'll be doing in the future. So always national interests of Armenia are on the mind, because national interests have two sources. One source are geopolitical and geoeconomic factors, and the second source, how those factors are shaped by the leadership. So national interests, when you are guided, strictly guided by national interest, it makes your job very strong, and it makes you very efficient and effective. Any diplomat representing any country. And secondly, diplomatic skills, because it requires continuous training. And there is no point when, even myself being a veteran of a diplomatic service, there is no point that you reach that and you say, I know everything. It's impossible, because even being an expert in negotiations, I learn continuously.
Yes.
Years back, I took a course. It was a joint course at Harvard University and MIT, hybrid course, online and also on campus for a while. So I learned a lot of new tools, new methodology. And that's why for a diplomat and for myself, it's very, very important to acquire new knowledge daily basis.
Mhm. It just reminds me, my grandpa always says something along the lines, "Խելացի մարդը գիտի, որ ոչ մի բան չգիտի," right? If you're very intelligent, you know, there's so much more to learn still. You don't ever think you know everything.
Absolutely.
So if there's anything else that you would like to share or say, please feel free to do so. But I've really enjoyed our conversation. Wow, it's almost been an hour.
Wow. Yeah. And the last, I'm so grateful to you not only for today's interview, not only for a farewell event on 25th, but also for everything you do, because what you do, you do in a best possible way, and you make all of us very proud, not only myself, all of us very proud. And when I was talking about Armenian festival and the main goal of the festival to promote Armenianness, you promote in the best possible way in California. And I'm very much sincere.
Oh, thank you very much. It means so much to have your support and to have you say that. Thank you. I really appreciate it.